Kankanam Sava Angahari Chandanam Salalitam Kanta Muktabali Rajastriyo Parivesito Vijayate Gopal Chudamani He Shishama Sundara Shikara Shekara Smiraha Sumili Manohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanadi Sapriya Charana Kinkarim Guru Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tayavina Iti Vigyaya Detam Nayamam Charanantikam Yatkinkreshu Vausa Kaluka Kavani Nityapura Shapurusha Shashakandamali Tashakadara Sanidevi Sabanujas Tatkeli Kunjaba Vananganama Janishama Majami Radha Ravinda Netram Smarami Radha Madhura Smitasham Vadhami Radha Karuna Bharajam Tatum Manasti Gati Nakapi Bhakita Vinoya Parada Lakshai Shiptascha Madhita Rangamaje Kripam Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Kanaka Jaladagatro Nila Sobhagya Netro Mrigumaravana Balu Malati Kundamalo Talana Taruna Vesho Nilapitam Baresho Smarani Nibritini Kunje Radhika Krishna Chandro Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Dhanyavad. So again, I'm asking before I start speaking because there's still people coming in here. Does any devotees on the Zoom have any questions from last week or from the phone conference or anything?
And Mukundru, unfortunately, you told me yesterday that you were starting at 10:30, and I was like, okay, great, but it didn't click to like tell people about it.
Oh.
So that's why.
Okay.
People are gonna be like, what's happening?
Straggling in. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
We posted it just now, though.
Okay, I'm trying to stretch it out. So.
Yeah.
So I'm asking the Zoom conference if they have any questions or anything. All right, maybe what I'll do is other topic questions I'll take here for a little while to give people a chance to come in. So people on the Zoom, bear with me. All right.
First of all, it's very nice to be here
After some time.
After a month away. My nephew, hopefully.
In the freezing cold.
And the cold. My nephew may be joining us. Hopefully, he's from the Midwest. And
I'll repeat the question.
And I was just wondering, what would, when you're speaking to somebody trying to capsulize Krishna consciousness, to a Christian or another audience, since we're opening up to any question, what would be the broadest stroke introduction to somebody who is unfamiliar with our process?
So Ramsipa was asking that if we are speaking to someone who is not familiar with the Vaishnava tradition or Bhakti tradition or Krishna consciousness, and we want to have a synopsis way to give them an insight, what would be the best methodology for that? So of course the best methodology is the common ground. The common ground is that obviously to establish that there is a God. And establishing that there is a God, establish that we must have a relationship with God. And the most foundational nature of that relationship would be servitude. Because in every religious context, I don't care what the religious context is, then service is the common thread. Whether it is Islam, Christianity, any traditional religions, everything, service is the bottom line, and it's borne out in the ritual performed in the act of service. So if you're in a Catholic church, for instance, you have the Mass and you have all the rituals that are done for that. Or sometimes it's just, which is pretty much the basis of Bhakti, hearing and chanting about the glory of God. So in any way, form, or fashion, service, relationship to an absolute truth, which is God, based in some mode of service, is a commonality or a common thread anywhere. Because really, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explained in Jivadharma as well, there's really only one religion. And it's Vaishnava Dharma. Vaishnava Dharma doesn't mean any of the institutional sanghas. Gaudiya Math, ISKCON, this thing, that thing, or Hinduism, or any of that. the nature of Vaishnava Dharma is the nature, like, that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote the book Jaiva Dharma. It is the very nature of the soul, it's the intrinsic quality of the soul to serve God. So the awakening of that is the actual nature of Dharma. And Dharma means, which is another good thing to explain, Dharma is an intrinsic quality, like liquidity is to water, heat and light is to fire. So it's something that's an intrinsic quality that cannot be changed. You understand? So it can be obfuscated because by the nature of material energy, the fact that I'm a servant of God can be obfuscated, but it can't be changed. Jiva Goswami Pad in Sandarbhas, he quotes one verse, Jiva Bhuta Hariyeva Nanyasheva Kadachana. So it means at no time can you be something other than a servant of God. That status never changes. So it can be covered by the material energy and obfuscated by avidya. And even in the word itself, avidya, right? The negative a, that first letter a, is a negation of something that's existing. So vidya is the actual thing. The absence of that vidya in someone is called avidya. So everybody is a servant of God. They just know it or they don't know it, or they partially have understood it. And then there's some people who fully realized it. And then in the full realization of that, it gives rise to different forms of serving Bhagavan. And the highest form of that service is when it is imbued with love. And then more than that, when love is made with, imbued with intimacy, is then the highest expression. And there's obviously examples within the purview of our day-to-day lives. We know that somebody could have a relationship with somebody in an employer-employee capacity, and that's a certain kind of relationship, but certainly we give more credence to the intimacy of a relationship that a husband and wife has, a parent and child have, even two friends have. So the genesis of this particular nuances of relationships, where does it come from? Was it invented in 1877? Right? So the genesis has to be in an origin. And the origin of everything is God. You need not quote Srimad Bhagavatam for a shloka thing to prove that. And everybody will acknowledge, who accepts there's a God, that at least God is the genesis of everything. So even the genesis of relationships, we don't track that somebody created them, even though now through social engineering, they're trying to create all kinds of different kinds of relationships. But originally, organic, natural relationships have come from God. So that gives us perspective on the common thread that's there in relation to all spirituality.
So as a follow-up, would it just a simple statement of, at its core, Krishna consciousness is understanding and developing the inherent relationship with God?
Yep. You don't want to get in theological difficulty speaking in Vaishnava circles, though, because inherent will get all kinds of not going there. All right, but that would be the way to couch that. All right, any questions on that? Any other questions here?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Virginia Nandan Prabhu.
I was always taught that Krishna consciousness was a way of life and was not a religion in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes, but really in Latin the word religio means to bind back to something. So the actual meaning of the word religion can be applied to Krishna consciousness in much as Krishna consciousness is also called Bhakti Yoga. And yoga means to connect to something. So religio means to bind back or to reconnect. So it can be seen as religion in that context, but in the socio-academic context of religion, it's not that. It's not a particular faith sort of thing. It's all the things we just described. It's an intrinsic quality of the soul. So you're right in a sense to say it's a way of life because the nature of the soul acting on that principle creates a way of life. That way of life is called devotion. And obviously bhakti is sort of the term that's used. It's very good to see your face, Chaitanya Mangal Prabhu. He comes on every week, but he only had a phone, so he was not visible. All right, I'm going to start Harikatha, it's okay? We'll just wait.
I have one question, Prabhu. Mukunda. You in one class, the last class, you tell the starting, the proceso, this is the chanting the Harinam. What is the finish?
You said the starting is of chanting Harinam.
Yeah, the Guru is starting the chanting. You remember this class?
Yeah.
You said last class you said something about chanting. The process starts with chanting.
Oh, hearing. Oh, yeah. You're talking about the class on Shravan Kirtan.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Kirtan is the mool anga of bhakti. Savasreshta Taramadye Nama Kirtan. So it is the root. But what is the very first thing in the 9 processes? Sravan. Because if you don't hear, how you'll know what to chant? You understand?
Yeah.
And this is one of the issues, and we'll speak about it in the course of the Katha today. Harinam doesn't mean Nam Akshar. And I think I spoke some time back in one class here that Harinam has progressive realizations. You can realize 32 Akshar, you can realize 16 names, you can realize 8 Yugal, you can realize how 8 Yugal have become Mahaprabhu. So these are progressive stages of chanting Harinam. So Harinam, unless you will hear Harikatha, because Harikatha, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur told, is a Swarup of Harinam. So Swarup means it is the intrinsic reality of Harinam. So if you don't hear Harikatha, then you won't have the ability to understand what is Nam. So in shloks like Nama Chintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Ras Vigraha. It is the very, Chaitanya means like life, the life force. Chaitanya Ras, of all Ras. And Ras is the essence of Bhakti. That's why we call it Bhakti Ras. Prior to the time of Mahaprabhu, there was Bhakti Ras, but it was indistinct. And prior to that, with the Alwars, which I'll talk about, then there was Bhakti. Gurudev told us Harikatha many times. There was Bhakti, but not the Bhakti Rasa. Understand? With Mahaprabhu, the clarity of Bhakti Rasa is established. It existed, other than that you would not have Geet Govinda, Chandidas, Vidyapati, all their kavya, everything you wouldn't, their poetry, you wouldn't have. Understand? But with Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Rasa is established. You understand? So this, how name is Bhakti Rasa through 8 Yugal, those 8 Yugal or Ashtakaliya Lila, you have to hear Harikatha to understand that. If you don't hear the Harikatha for that, then you may be chanting Namakshar, 32 syllables, and then after some time you'll understand that the syllables are related to the Thakurji, to the Murti, so then you'll identify, oh, Hare is vocative of Hara, that's Radhika, and Krishna is Krishna. But what does that mean? Unless you hear Harikatha, you won't know. That's the meaning in Srimad Bhagavatam of Satam Prasanga Mama Virya Samvida. The samvad of a Satam means sadhu. If the hearer is proper and the sadhu is proper, it will create prasanga. So sangha, you know what I mean? What is the meaning of sangha?
Association.
Yeah, but what the literal meaning?
To meet, not to join,
No, yeah. Samyak Rupe Anugamana.
to embody.
Yeah, Samyak Rupe means the complete form of doing anugatya with someone. Right? So Samyak Rupe Anugamana. Right? So this is called Sangha. And to have the prefix pra, which means Prakrish Rupe, means to completely have association. It means when there is realization being exchanged in the samvad. It is called prasanga. Understand? That's why the word Mama Virya, how Srila Prabhupada is written, my glorious or powerful activities. But the word Virya also means Shakti. So it means the presence of Swarup Shakti. Mama Shakti. Mama Swarup Shakti. My Swarup Shakti is present in the prasanga of a proper hira and proper sadhu doing kata. So in their samvad, Swarup Shakti is present. And because Swarup Shakti is present, Bhavanti Rit Karana Rasanaya Kata. It has the ability to transcend the mundane mental functions and intellectual functions and have an effect on the Atma. You understand? The first effect will be as rasayan, as medicine. Because the condition around the Atma, not the Atma itself, right, is some disease. So first thing as rasayan, it will remove that disease condition, then it will provide ras to the Atma. You understand? So and then hearing Hari Katha, chanting Harinam, the rasa samagri means the ingredients of rasa in any lila will come into the heart of that person chanting or hearing that Hari Katha. So this is the meaning. The root of everything is chanting, but you have to hear first, and then that chanting, which has organically come from hearing, is bona fide chanting. Even kirtan. Savot bhavina kirtan. This is kirtan. Rag and tal, Gurudev used to say, is not kirtan. Alright? So how expertly you're able to perform the aroha and avaroha pant means in rag, like sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. This is in Indian music or classical music. You have up and down scales, and there's rags are based on that. How expert you can do that is not kirtan. Understand? Then the madanga playing is very expert. But at the same time, our acharyas have knowledge when kartals, conch shells, bells, and madanga come together, what do they create? It's in the kirtan. Paramaras. You understand? It says when they're hearing these things together, they come together, create param. So what does it mean? Because there, the nature of the kirtan being savut bhavena kirtan means kirtan imbued with mood. The madanga, the kartal, the gong, everything becomes imbued with that shakti by the purity of the kirtaniya. And therefore, the combination of the things, just like what is ras made of? What are the ingredients of ras?
Or anubhavs, vibhavs.
Yep, staibhav first, vibhav, anubhav, sanchar, and then sanchari bhavs, etc. So in the same way, the combination of madanga, kartal, the ringing of the bell, and the gong, everything, when they come together in pure kirtan, it creates paramaras. This was the meaning of this. Because mridanga and kartals are the incarnation of Vamsi. Not this Vamsi is here. But in Gaur Lila, the Vamsi is incarnated as mridanga and kartal. Understand? And therefore it has the power to produce these same effects that Krishna's flute produces in terms of bringing the jivas. You understand? Because it's mentioned in the Ras Panchadhyay, Jagu Kalam Bamadrisam Manoharam. Understand? In describing the sound of the flute. So this Jagu Kalam Bamadrisam Manoharam is describing the letter clean. You understand? It's the Sanskrit construction of that letter. So the Mridanga and Kartal perform that function of calling the jivas to the Ras Mandal in the Anga Shrivas. Right? For desire to participate, because who can enter the Ras Mandal in Srivas's courtyard? Only qualified devotees. Understand? But it invokes the mercy of Mahaprabhu that kirtan spills out and becomes Naga Sankirtan. Understand? Because the nature of prem, when it reaches a certain level, it takes on the quality called Yavad Asraya Vritti. I think I explained this before. Yavad Asraya Vritti means it overflows and touches those who are qualified, who are nearby. You understand? So the nature of the kirtan does that. It overspills, it becomes Naga Sankirtan. Okay, we should start our glorification. Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. Any question before starting?
Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Mridanga has 64 threads, like here, and then multiply, so you double that on each side, it becomes 108. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Well, 64 would be 128.
No, sorry, not 64.
54?
54, yes.
I have not, but it could very well
Yeah.
be. I know there's a lot of esoteric things in the quality of the Madanga. Yeah. Because they say there's some people who, true Madanga makers, they know all these details about this like this. Alright. So, we can't understand the real glorification of Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur without understanding its relationship to the prophecy of Mahaprabhu. I've spoken this very, very many times because it's indispensable. If you don't understand this prophecy, then it's difficult to understand the true glory of those related to the prophecy. So, the appearance of Bhagavan has many, many incarnations. And in all of these incarnations, they engender the devotion accordingly. So in almost all of the incarnations up to Sri Ramchandraji, the predominant mood that's invoked is Dasya Rasa. In Ram Leela, Gurudev said how many rasas are present?
3.
2 and
Half.
half. 2.5. Yes, Vatsalya Rasa, some Swakya Vad obviously, and also Gaurava Sakya Ras. Means like Babijin, Sugriv, others. They know Ram as Bhagavan, but they have some fraternal relationship. But the seeds of all 5 rasas that will appear in Krishna's Leela are present in Ram Leela in their seed form. Right? But 2.5 are prominent. So during the earlier period when devotion was manifest as bhakti, Bhagavan sends his own, his chakra, his club, his shrivats, all these things, not shrivats, but his jewel, everything, his sword, everything, they appear in this world in 12 different forms called alwars. And Mother Earth joins them as Andal. These 12 alwars, they set the table for the highest kind of devotion in Dasyarasa. They wrote one book, it is called Divya Prabandham, and it's 4,000 verses, and it covers the entire spectrum of the deepest kind of absorbed devotion. I heard this originally when I was doing pilgrimage in South India from the lips of Srila Govinda Maharaj for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
I asked him the question because I was going to follow the path of Mahaprabhu to South India, because in many of those places Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur established either a padak or a baitak, means where Mahaprabhu either sat or where his sandals were established. So we would go to those places and we would clean them and everything and do kirtan there. So before we left, we stopped in Bhubaneswara, and we asked Govinda Maharaj, what about the alwars? So he was sitting under the staircase where they were building the temple. And he had, in India they have the long white mats and everything, and he had one trunk and they covered it with a white cloth. That was his office setup. So when I asked him the question, he just leaned back and he closed his eyes. For 2.5 hours, he spoke this whole thing of the Alwar tradition, all the way up to the story of Narada Muni meeting Bhakti Devi and her 2 sons. And he told the whole thing, which I had never heard. But anyway, so these Alwars, they established the tradition of bhakti and deep devotion in Dasyarasa. Later, of course, the Acharyas would establish that so many different places. Then, as I told, that bhakti would come to the north, and of course, it would be infused especially with the nature of bhakti as it was described by great poets like Chandidas, Vijayapati, Jayadev Goswami, etc. So this was bhakti rasa, and people were absorbed in it. Many great saints before that, I'm jumping in a huge period, but many people were absorbed, but the actual structure, insight, everything else about this bhakti rasa was not established firmly until the appearance of Sriman Mahaprabhu. When Sriman Mahaprabhu comes, he establishes the purity of this bhakti rasa. This bhakti rasa is described by Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in the shlok, Prema Rasni Yas Karite Ashwadan, Rag Mat Bhakti Lok Karite Pracharan. So it says that Mahaprabhu appeared to taste Prem Ras Niryas. What is that Prem Ras Niryas? That the Leela of Ramachandra Bhagavan was considered to be Maryada Leela. Means that Leela which was still imbued with Maryada. Everybody knows what Maryada means, I'm not explaining it. But Maryada for some devotees on the Zoom means like etiquette, right? Rules, regulations, etiquette. Then Krishna's Leela comes, and Krishna's called Leela Purushottam because the nature of now tasting rasa is in full swing, because all 5 primary rasa and 7 secondary rasas are present in Krishna's Leela. And in the Leela called Ras Leela, in Sanskrit with a long A, all 12 rasas are present there in some way, form, or fashion. What is this slok? Rasa Samuha Iti Rasa. Rasa Samuha Iti Rasa means the Ras Leela contains all the rasas. They appear there in some way, form, or fashion in order to nourish completely the Ras. Therefore, it's called Ras Lila. It's that Lila in which Krishna tastes all rasas. So Krishna's Leelas, with the pinnacle being Ras Lila, is the pinnacle of all kinds of performance of Leelas. There's nothing that can be higher than that. So this was the purpose for which Radha and Krishna have eternally manifested two forms. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also wrote, Radha Krishna Chari Sada Eki Sarup, Leela Rasa Ashudite Dare Duirup. They've only taken two forms to perpetually taste various kinds of rasa. In Krishna's Leela, Leela is something that is a vehicle of activity to produce ras. Understand? This is called Leela. What will produce ras, something tasteful, is called the Leela. So in Krishna's pastimes, Leela ras is tasted to the fullest extent. Samya Krishna Ras Leela. You understand? In Ramananda Samvad, this is quoted. Right? So the highest kind of Leela is tasted in Krishna's Leela. The nature of that ras is tasted by the basis of prem. Prem is the ingredient in a Leela that gives rasa. If there was just activity but there was no prem, would it produce Leela? Rasa? No, nothing would be produced. So it's the prem that produces the nature of ras, which makes the Leela tasteful to Bhagavan. Understand? So Krishna has tasted everything up to the point of Ras Leela, where all 12 Leelas are fully blown in their individual capacities to nourish that Ras Leela. But then Krishna says, Purva Vraja Vilasi Etin Abilas. Though I tasted everything as Leela Purushottam, as Akila Rasamrita Murti, I've tasted everything available that could be produced in any Leela, still I'm left with Teen Abilas, means three desires. What three desires could he possibly be left with? I'm asking.
Well, Radhika's mood, of course, highest, what is that love that she feels for him? Krishna, he can enjoy something and taste something, but he sees that being in the association of Srimati Radhika, that her mood is so much higher, so much more affection than him. And she, he wants to also...
Yes. So what verse will explain this thing here?
Radhaya Pranaya Mahima.
Radha Pranaya Mama Kidduso Vanyeva. In this slok, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is revealing what you're saying. That Krishna's Tina Vilas was, what is the nature of Radhika's Pranay? Right? And Pranay has special meanings. We're not going there, it's not Ujjwala in the Money class. But anyway, special meaning is there, Pranay. Also, how she tastes this Chatur Madhuri. How does Radhika experience Krishna's beauty, flute playing, Prem Karika, and Leela? How does she experience it? And Shokyam Chasya, what is the nature of her bhav? The happiness she experiences from that. What is the nature of Radhika's Prem called? It's also open to the Zoom conference. Madanakya Mahabhav. What is Madanakya Mahabhav? Prem goes through so many iterations. From Bhav, Prem, Sneha, Man Pranaya or Pranaya Man, because they can be switched according to circumstances. So Man Pranaya Rag. Rag becomes Anurag. Anurag turns into Mahabhav. Mahabhav turns to Rud, Adirud. Adirud turns to Modan. Yes, Madan, Mohan. And finally, Madan. Krishna can reciprocate. Somebody's got to mute out. Krishna can reciprocate up to the point of Adirud Bhav in Mohan. You understand? Because in Modan, they're meeting. So the meeting gives mutual exchange of satisfaction. So in the verse, Napariham Nirvaja Samyujam, I have no way to repay you. Krishna speaking to whom?
Radhika.
Because it is in Radhika that Mohan Bhav becomes prominent with the influence of Madanakya Mahabhav. You understand? He cannot reciprocate with that. What is the proof of that? That even in seeing the Prem Vaichitya of Radhika, Krishna is bewildered. You understand? Just like at Prem Sarovar, when Radhika was sitting on his lap, Madhu Mangal tells, oh, that Madhusudan is gone, will not return, simply by the stimulus of hearing in her ear, all of her senses were conquered. And based on the constant presence of the fear of separation, Radhika entered another prakosh in which she was separated from Krishna. It's called Prem Vaichitya. You understand? It's born from the fear that we may be separated. So any stimulus that comes to enhance that creates Prem Vaichitya. You understand? So Krishna's wondrous of this. Also during the Ras Lila, when Radhika disappears from the Ras and Krishna also disappears and finds her, and they're doing Van Vihar, going from one forest to another, at one point Radhika tells, I cannot walk anymore, you should carry me. He says, oh yes, most certainly. You should climb up on my back. And then Radhika, out of lajja, shyness, she closes her eyes for 1 second. Because she closed her eyes for 1 second, lost sight of Krishna, she entered another prakosh in which they were separated. But Krishna's observing now. Oh my goodness. Even in my presence, she can experience separation. So he hides in the bushes and watches the unfoldment of everything, including the other gopis coming, everything else. So Krishna is amazed at the Mohan Bhav of Srimati Radhika. And he cannot reciprocate in direct association with Radhika. How also is he amazed? The Leela comes for him to go to Mathura and to Dwarka. All of this you'll see how it relates to Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. But anyway, so at that time, Gurudev told, Krishna then decides, they are so absorbed that in my absence, the depth of their separation can produce my presence. When Krishna is in Vrindavan, the nature of the presence is called the Viswati. Understand? Krishna makes a special appearance before the gopis due to the intensity of their separation. But because the gopis know Krishna is still present in that braj, when the Viswati breaks, it doubles the pain. Understand? Dvi guna viraharatati. It doubles the pain. Therefore Krishna thought, if I will stay here, it's problematic. When I'm here and they're feeling separation is problematic. So the Krishna goes to Mathura and then later to Dwarka. When he goes to Mathura and Dwarka, it is called Bhutta Milan. Bhutta Milan means there's 3 kind of stages. Bhavi Milan, prior to Krishna leaving. Bhavan Milan, when Krishna is on the chariot of Akrura. And Bhutta Milan, Krishna has gone to Mathura and later to Dwarka. In Bhutta Milan, the gopis feel a sense of resignation. We don't know when he's coming back. What did Krishna tell on the chariot when he was leaving? Yashyati, I'll return. And it means day after tomorrow. Maharaj gave a whole explanation. I'll return day after tomorrow. Did Krishna come day after tomorrow?
No.
How many years passed? Almost like 72 years. Srila Chutala Bhat spoke. To 72 years. Before, Jiva Goswami says in Gopal Champu that he, after killing Dantaraka, returns. In Bhagavatam, it's not mentioned his return. Gopal Champu is mentioned after killing Dantaraka, 72 years old, he returns to Raj. So, but what is 72 years? For gopis, Atatite Bhavan Anikananam Tritiyugayate Tvam Apashatvam. Not seeing Krishna's face for a second is like a whole yuga has passed. So what is 2 years? What is that for them? Understand? So they have a resignation in their hearts. We don't know if he'll come back. He's not obliged to come back. You understand? Because we have no relation with him like that. You understand? Mother Yashoda can claim motherhood. He's my son. Even a good friend can claim, you're my dear friend. But what relationship we can claim? We're married to other persons. We can't even claim he's my very dear friend. Because there may be some suspect behavior there. So they have no hope to claim a entitlement to Krishna's return. This creates a mood called Bhutta Milan. In that Bhutta Milan, in Adirud Bhav, it produces a feeling. Adirud Akya Pradhur Bhava Jato Yam Sambhoga Vipralambika. Did I explain this here before? This one verse from Ujjwala Namani. In this verse it's saying, in the Adirud Bhav, Adirud Akya means in Adirud Mahabhav. Pradhur means extreme intensity, right? Jatoyam, in that category of extreme intensity due to Adirud Bhav, then Sambhog Vipralambika. The suffix here ka means produce from. Just like we have miseries, Adhyatmika, Adhibautika, Adhidaivika, miseries produced from those sources. So here it says Sambhog Vipralambika. The separation at that time in Bhut Milan is so strong, it produces Krishna's presence directly. You understand? Then it says in the next line, Nirbharananda Puranam. Don't think that this is like Visporti. It's actually directly Krishna himself. You understand? It's not like a sporty. That separation is so strong, it directly produces Krishna's presence itself. You understand? Therefore, Paramavadi Ishyate, it becomes most desirable. So Krishna is realizing my absence is more desirable than my presence, because in my presence there's the fear of being separated. But in Bhut Milan, their separation is so deep it produces my presence with no fear.
Wow.
This is the depth of prayer. My point coming now. Krishna cannot understand this thing. You understand? And therefore he has a desire to understand what then is the pranay of Radhika means, what is a praying that produces this kind of mood. In order to do that, he takes the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How do we know that this is the transformation of praying? It's written there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Radha Pranaya Vikriti Latini Shakti Asmat. The word asmat means like a cause. The cause of this transformation, Vikriti, of Mahaprabhu is praying. Understand? Sri Radha Pranaya Vikriti. The pranaya of Radhika transforming means the prema of Radhika transforming is producing the reality of those persons who are one Atma, now again becoming one. You understand? So their prema is produced the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is now Rasaraj, Krishna and Mahabhav Swarup, Srimati Radhika again in one form. But is it the same ontologically speaking as in the verse Radha Krishna Chayi Sada Eki Swarup? No. Here now, it is a transformation of praying that has caused the form of Radha and Krishna to manifest as one form. This is what I talked about when I talked about chanting Harinam. This is the meaning. If you'll understand how 32 Akshar becomes 16 names, becomes 8 Yugul, which is all Radha Krishna and all their pastimes, and the pastimes are based in praying, when that praying reaches its pinnacle, it produces one form, one name, which is Gaur. You understand? Yes. His name is also Gaur. You understand? So it produces one form, one name, Gaur. Understand? This is the pinnacle of praying. So Mahaprabhu's Leela is called what? Praying Purushottam Leela. Because the essential ingredient of Mahaprabhu's Leela is praying. It's not the Leela, it's praying that's dominant. You understand? So one Leela can be performed over and over again, the Harinam Sankirtan in the courtyard of Srivas, and produce everything. Haribo, Haribo, Manju Didi. Welcome, welcome. Jackson, welcome. Jackson, you live in Nebraska?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's cold.
We already told. Well, for this, it's cold here.
Yeah.
This is Nebraska for the Florida climate. But the good thing is that it'll warm up. So this form is the pinnacle of all praying. That form, now coming more to our point, in that form, while Mahaprabhu was performing his Leela, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Mahaprabhu in the absorption, because it's mentioned there also, Prem Rasnyas Karite Ashwinan, Rag Marg Bhakti Lok Karite Pracharan, to whom did Mahaprabhu preach this kind of love? The Rag Marg. It's in the verse. Bhakta Lok. Yes. So he preached to the previous incarnation's devotees the path of Rag Marg and brought them into Gaur Leela so they would have a chance to have a taste of it. Prem naiva goparamanam kamam iti agamat pratam Udava Adayopi, Tanvajanti, Bhagavat Priya. So all the dear devotees of previous incarnations headed by Uddhavji were brought into Gaur Leela. They can taste the intensity of Rag Prem that's in Braj. They don't change their Swarup. They don't change their Swarup. But in a Visesh Dashabhav to Mahaprabhu, they taste in the Kirtan the intensity of Braj mood up to the point of Ras Leela in the form of Kirtan in the courtyard of Srivas. You understand? And Mahaprabhu performs one Leela to let them know, I'm that same Ishtadev. That is called the Mahaprakash Leela. He reveals to all the different devotees, yes, I am your Ishtadev. Ye Janamat Ishta Prabhu Apana She Goranga She Avatar. It's written there. Understand? Chaitanya Bhagavat. So in this way, Mahaprabhu brings all these devotees, preaches to them Rag Marg. But because Rasik Shekara Parama Karun, because he's Parama Karun, he wants to now distribute this mood of love to the entire world. But does Bhagavan himself give bhakti? No. Any proof? And from where? We discussed before, but I'm not proof.
Haribol, I don't know the verse, but it was about that he would then be accused of being partial. Is it in Bhagavad Gita or?
Not Bhagavad Gita, but you're right, you're correct. Yes.
From Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Nope.
Well, I don't know where's.
Madhurya Kadambini. In Madhurya Kadambini Grantha, it's mentioned that if Bhagavan himself was to give bhakti, he'd be attributed with the fault called asamya dosh. Means partiality. Therefore, he empowers through the bhakti shakti. Paramaswatantra Bhagavat Bhakta Jata Kripa Mangludai. He empowers his own devotees to have the independence to give bhakti. Those devotees then come to the Majjhim platform in which they can make distinctions and they distribute bhakti. What is the cause of their distribution of bhakti?
Causeless mercy.
Yadrichaya matkatado. Yadricha. In Bhagavatam is many verses starting with Yadricha. And Srila Sridhar Swami, who's the original commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam, gave definition. What is Yadricha? Yadricha kenapi ati bhagyena. It means greatly fortunate. That same thing is repeated in Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is this verse? Brahmanda Brahmati kon bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti. What is the basis? Just simply good fortune. Causeless mercy. You understand? This is how one comes in contact with bhakti. Certainly bhakti unmukhi sukritis play some role. But ultimately it's the mercy of Bhagavan and bhaktas that causes this thing to happen. You understand? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore deputed the Goswami Varga beginning with Burgaba and Lokanath to go to Vrindavan, re-establish the holy places. He kept Sri Raghunath Das Goswami in his company for the amount of time that Mahaprabhu stayed on the planet, and 2 years afterwards, till Swarup Damodar left, he sent him also to Vrindavan. You understand? In that, Mahaprabhu gave teachings to each of them, Sanatan Siksha, Rup Siksha. Obviously, Raghunath Das Goswami had his Kari, Chabutika, in which he had all the notes from Swarup Damodar. You understand? He personally stayed with Gopal Bhatt Goswami when he went for Chaturmas to the Srirangam to visit with Venkata Bhatt, etc. And there also Prabodhananda Saraswati, others were converted, so forth, so on. So in this way, he taught all of the devotees, because all these people were devotees from previous incarnations. You understand? They were all devotees from previous incarnations. So through them, Mahaprabhu invested the teachings of bhakti. Now, Al Goswami Varga became the first installment of a fulfillment of a prophecy of Mahaprabhu. What was that prophecy? Pitriya Cheyata Nagaradigram Savatra Pracha Webe Morinam. Mahaprabhu in his Mudas Paramakarun recited a prophecy that this Harinam would spread to every town and village. Did he mean that you can go to Paris now and see Harinam Sankirtan? Did he mean that you can go in the depths of Africa? I spent I don't know how many years opening temples and stuff. You can hear Harinam now going on. But Mahaprabhu didn't just mean this, because this could be Namakshar. Mahaprabhu meant the conceptions we're talking about now would go to every town and village.
Wow.
Now listen closely. To do that, Mahaprabhu empowered the Goswami Varga. He made them reestablish the places of Braj. What was the meaning of the Goswamis all being sent to Braj to reestablish the place of Braj? What is the meaning? You could have just called some archaeologists, go there, excavate, right? Why did he send the Goswamis there to do this? Yes. Who are these Goswamis? They're the Manjaris of Radhika. And what is Vrindavan? Radhika herself spoke from her own mouth what is Vrindavan. Rito e Moraman Vrindavana Manivani Ekakari Jani. This Vrindavan is my heart. So he sent Radhika's own Manjaris there to reestablish the heart of Radhika, which is Vrindavan. You understand? And to make a synthesis between the compassion of Mahaprabhu to give that mood of service, Radha Dasyam, to the entire world, he sent the Goswamis there to revive that. While they were reviving that through all of their different activities, Mahaprabhu invested in them the teachings about all Bhakti and Bhakti Ras. They then passed those teachings down. Immediately after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu and so forth, the practice of Bhakti was steeped in essentially renunciation. If you wanted to practice Bhakti, you became Nirupadi Vaishnava. Means like in the traditional parivars, you'll see people come, they give up everything and do bhajan. You understand? How many of us would have been on first glance able to come and say, yes, come, even now, if you go to Braj and you have to stay in Braj, you'll think, okay, but on Ekadasi they don't sell the Trader Joe's chips. You understand? This may be difficult for me.
Is the MBT open?
Is MBT open? You understand? There's no pizza? You understand? What to speak, how they were doing bhajan. You understand? Goswamis staying under one tree each night, etc., etc. This was bhajan. And then even in the Bahirpant means the external teaching on how to do bhajan, which came in the line of Vikeshwara Pandit to Gopal Guru Goswami, to Jnanachandra Goswami, they wrote a Padati, how to do this kind of bhajan. You understand? That Padati was called Gaur Govind Archan Smaran Padati. You understand? So they taught how to do this kind of bhajan. There was no space. Hari Bol Prabhuji. Hari Bol. Dhanabad Didi. Okay, I'll do it. Yeah. Is that better, Parvati? I'm not looking at the chat, so
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
much
well.
better.
All right, sorry about that. So, in this way, what was I talking about? Gauravan Archan Smaran Padati. So this became the Bahirpant means the descriptive way how a person can obtain siddhi in bhajan. Understand? And Raghunath Das Goswami, he wrote the internal method of how to adjust your consciousness to doing bhajan to achieve siddhi. So there's Antarapant and Bahirpant. But both of them required somebody to come and fully dedicate to doing bhajan. Not, yes, I have to go to work, but I'll be doing my bhajan when I get back at such and such time. Understand? Oh, wait a minute, I'm going to do bhajan, but the game's coming on. I just want to make sure. You understand? You understand? So everything fully absorbed doing bhajan. You understand? There wasn't the gradual nature of the process. If you read Gogovind Archan Smaran Padati, it doesn't really accommodate, even though in gradual incremental development in bhajan. But at that time, this is bhajan. Either you're doing this from samskar, you can come and do bhajan. You understand? So, how will Mahaprabhu's prophecy would not be exportable to the entire world? Because people just can't, everybody doesn't have that kind of samskar. They don't have that kind of Bhakti and Mukti
Recording in
Sukriti.
progress.
You understand? Therefore, a special thing happens. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the synthesis of all of our Goswami Varga, therefore he's called Saptam Goswami. He's the synthesis of the Shakti of our Goswami Varga.
Recording stopped.
He begins to write and preach in such a way as to do two things. One, fulfill the prophecy that the ability of Mahaprabhu's teachings to spread all around the world will be available, so he starts to write in English language. But another thing he does is that during the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, even after the time of Mahaprabhu, there was some decline in the status, practice, and the social perception of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Even among the Vaishnava Mandal, there were disagreements, issues, problems. Therefore, even in the second generation, Narottam Das Thakur held a big festival at Keturi Gram, in which again they reiterated the teachings of Mahaprabhu, headed by whom? Janavama, presiding. And they presented out kirtan standards, any Siddhantic nuances, all presented at that festival. It wasn't a kirtan mela. You understand? They actually had Harikatha, they discussed Siddhantic issues, they established certain things. The crumb that we use, Guru, Vaishnav, Gora, that was established at Keturi Gram. You understand? Because prior to that, sometimes it would just be, you could go to Radha Krishna Lila. This is where the evolvement of Lila Kirtan in Bengal became very popular. But then Keturi said, no. Should be Guru, Vaishnav, Gora, and then Radha Krishna Lila. You understand? So many things were established. Even after that, there was also upheavals again. Because there's the rise of Apasampradayas. What are these Apasampradayas? They're based in actual bhakti with some nuance that becomes deviated and then expands. There's people like Jagannath, who's Ativadi. Then you have the Ao, Bao, Saki Beki, Dwaravesh. So many different sampradayas in Bhaktivinoda 13 he identified. Then the appearance of Rup Kaviraj. Rup Kaviraj, Chatur, what is this? Sadhana Chaturstai. He had his own idea of what this sadhana, everything. And he had some corruption of the verse. Seva Sarika Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatrahi, Tad Baba Lipsanakara, Vraja Lok Anusarata. How he interpreted that verse, Vraja Lok Anusarata means you should follow the residents of Braj. But how you should follow? In Siddha Rup, you follow according to Siddha. In Sadhak Rup, you follow what Rup Goswami, Sanat and others followed. How they did bhajan. But he translates, no, you should be always absorbed only Understand? He was originally a good disciple. Some say disciple of Hemlata Thakurani, but others say not disciple of Hemlata Thakurani, but of Srivas, I believe. And it was Hemlata Thakurani who disciplined him. So it's different things. Guru Bhai Prem Prajan wrote a history of this recently, like this. So in this way, there was so many distractions. This is the time that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was living in. And now, the Vaishnava perception in the general society has become looked at as just like the documentaries they put out about the Hare Krishna movement now, right? So people in general society look at a documentary on some media or something and, these weird cult people or something. You understand? So that became the perception. And in the Bengali society at that time, there was what was called the Bhadralok. Does anybody know about the Bhadralok? Bhadralok meant those people who were, first of all, English educated. They generally belonged to either Brahmin, Kayatsa, or Vaidya class. So these are three kind of high class statuses, especially in the Bengali community. Understand? They generally worked in the British government. You understand? So they were like the intelligentsia of the Bengali society. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was considered among that class. He was a deputy magistrate. He was considered like that. He was well educated, everything else. So he was preaching in that Bhadralok and trying to reestablish the glory of Vaishnavism, but most people were like, nah, you see all these sadhus, fake sadhus, because there was a time when so much corruption came that in the traditional parivars, which is where the pushback on this came from, the idea that if you want to obtain siddhi in bhajan, you have to come to me and I'll give it to you. You understand? This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur pushed back on by writing, no, everything is already there inside. You understand? It was a pushback against the artificiality and corruption of the bogus sadhus in some of the traditional pariwars who are pushing the idea, because the idea is there, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoy, Sadhu Sangha. The root cause of bhakti is a sadhu. So innocent persons would go, oh, if I find a sadhu, I can get bhakti. Yes, you come to me, I will give you bhakti in exchange for. You understand? So those kind of caveats were there. You understand? And this was all bogus kind of thing. Not all. We should never think all, because Bhagavad Das Babaji, Siddha Krishna Das Babaji, Kunja Bihari Babaji, Bhagavad Das Babaji, so many high class of associates in Nirupari Vaishnava practice, meaning Babaji practice, were going on. But also, those who were practicing, doing Nirjan Bhajan, etc., they didn't have a GBC, for lack of a better word. They weren't monitoring who's doing what, what's bogus, what's not. They were absorbed in bhajan. Either you're doing bhajan or not. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in part took up the mantle of looking, oh, this thing is bogus, they're pointing it out here, there, this and that. You understand? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur now becomes the synthesis of our Goswami Varga, and now also the embodiment of the prophecy of Mahaprabhu. You understand? He gets assigned to Jagannath Puri as the deputy magistrate there. While he's there, he spends the time to study all Sandarbhas, right? Because it's here that he's going to spend 10 years, and he does a deep study of the Sandarbhas. On the 11th year, he does a deep study of Sandarbhas. During that time also, he gives birth to Srila Bimla Prasad. How? Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur now is completely enthused to fulfill this prophecy of Mahaprabhu to preach all over the world. You understand? The actual conception, not only Nam, but the conceptions of Nam. So now in that absorption, he goes to Jagannath temple and he begins to pray. Jagannath Dev gives him darshan. And Jagannath tells, listen, pray to my Shakti Bimla Devi. We have a Bimla Devi here also. You can also pray to Bhakti. Pray for Bhakti. And we have Gaurs, Vamsis, Bimlas, we have everything. So pray to my Shakti Bimla. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays that he could receive help to carry out this mission. From that, one wonderful child is born, whose umbilical cord, to give symbol that the desire of Bhaktivinoda Thakur has been fulfilled, is born, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur names him Bimla Prasad.
Gurudev was saying Bimla Ananda in that lecture.
Oh, Bimla Ananda.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur very happy, so there's no harm. You understand? So now also, he had 13 children, right? But 2 sons became prominent. Bimla Prasad and Lalit Prasad. You understand? In the tradition of the Pariwars, Lalit Prasad was like a linchpin. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very interesting arrangement. In Jaiva Dharma, if you look, the methodology that's written there of bhajan is based in the Pariwar mode of doing bhajan. You look at the example of Sannyasi Thakur. What happened? Sannyasi Thakur saw Vaishnav. Seeing that Vaishnav, he got an impression. He was already a liberated soul, but he got an impression. Asambhasha tad bhava gambhira chittam. Seeing the deep gambhira bhava of a Vaishnav, Asambhasha, he didn't talk to that Vaishnav. You understand? He only saw. He looked for that Vaishnav, could not find him. He then goes to Prem Das Babaji. You understand? And in the association of Prem Das Babaji, he eventually takes initiation with Prem Das Babaji. They go to see the Guru of Prem Das Babaji, Prajumna, Brahmachari. You understand? He gives his blessing also. Then, once in the absorption of Prem Das Babaji, he's doing his bhajan in Nisant Leela and tells, oh, silence that monkey Kakati. Your name is Ramana Manjari. So we don't read that he was in the Bhakti program and then he graduated and then so forth and so on. You understand? So this methodology is still steeped in the traditions of what was in Gorgovan, Archan, Smarn, Padati, etc. You understand? But a transition's being made, because if you read Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur very much emphasizes the incremental steps, because he quotes everything is in Jaiva Dharma. All Sandarbhas, Ujjalin Mani, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, everything is there in Jaiva Dharma. So he speaks about the incremental steps in becoming Siddha. There in Jaiva Dharma, he also speaks about it. So he couches the two sides together. Having prayed for someone, however, who would help him to express the prophecy of Mahaprabhu, that would not be done, as we already established, through the original traditional methods. So, in the form of Bimala Prasad, after Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur they established a newspaper. And they also begin to reinvigorate the proper perception of true teachings of Mahaprabhu and Gaudiya Vaishnavism through that paper and through his preaching, etc. Bhakti Srila Bimala Prasad is accompanying him now, and he's given initiation. Who gives his first initiation, so to speak? Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself gave Harinam and the Shringa Mantra. Understand? Now he's accompanying his father. They're doing preaching and doing so many different things. I'm not going, the whole history you could read of Bhakti Siddhanta is going to school and so forth, so on, is taking employment in the royal court. You can read everything. So I'm trying to get to a point without going too late. So now, in the form of Bimala Prasad, he has someone who will carry this legacy, but in such a way the prophecy can be fulfilled. Because what does Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati do? First, after taking his vow to chant Satta-Kokti-Nam, 1 billion names, over a course of 10 years, 1 billion names of Harinam to chant, he has darshan of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu gives him the blessing. Yes, you should carry on the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So in this way, even though Gokshara's Babaji told him don't go to Calcutta, it's the
Recording in progress.
it is the city of Kali. What do you say, castle of Kali or city of Kali, something like that. But he goes there and he establishes again where Bhaktivinoda Thakur was, the Bhaktivinoda Asana, right, which would later become the first Gaudiya Mata, etc., etc. He makes everything, all the mantras, the practices, everything suitable for export to the rest of the world. The way that we are practicing now, what is the genesis of that practice? That would allow grihastas to come, though they weren't living in the mat, they could come and they could practice. It is what we're doing right now. The way we're practicing now with Mangalarti, everything else, chanting it, Tulsi Parika, these things were established by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That became the methodology in Gaudiya Mat. You understand? Because who was going to sit, become absorbed on day one in Ashtakali Lila? Understand? Who? We had the detox first. Most people needed the detox from what was going on in the 60s and all of that. Right? What to speak of sitting and doing Ashtakali Lila Smaran? You understand? So he packaged the program in such a way it would be able to be exported to the rest of the world to fulfill the prophecy of Mahaprabhu. If it was not for the innovations of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in terms of Yukta Vairagya, in terms of establishing a program that was suitable for all practitioners at all levels to come and take up the practice of Bhakti, if it was not for reestablishing the validity of renunciation in the Gaudiya line, this is why he went to Prem Pradur, the birthplace of Lord Ram, got all the manuals of Tridandi Sannyas and reestablished renunciation in the proper way. Because in the traditional parivars, the assumption is everybody's renounced. But is there any distinguishing guidelines or dress or anything to affirm that? No. And in result of that was so much cheating was going on. So he took it upon himself to reestablish Tridandi Sannyas. You understand? And in doing that, he set the bar. Oh, what is renunciation and what is the guidelines and responsibility for those who renounce? Because in India still at that time, even if people were not so educated in many other things, they knew what was a sannyasi. Because the presence of even Ekdandi sannyasis in the Dvaitin Sampradaya were there. So they knew all of the nature of being renounced, what it meant. So none of the sort of cheating qualities of false renunciate could be present. You understand? Then he established the Gaudiya Mat, which accommodated so many different levels of people. You understand? So this drew the ire of course, the Brahminical community. Because now, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was preaching like Narottam Das Thakur did, right? So you have a precedent to everyone. Mahaprabhu did to everyone, but to speak of Narottam Das. So now he's preaching to everyone, and everyone is coming, and he's giving diksha to everyone, allowing them to worship the shalagram, everything. So the caste Brahmins became very upset. So then they invited him, oh, you should come and you should defend your posture on this. So he agreed to come, Haribol, did he? He agreed to come and defend his posture on this. The result of that lecture became one book in an expanded form, what he spoke, called Brahman and Vaishnava. Has anybody ever seen this book?
What's it called?
Brahman and Vaishnava. It is, yeah, it's one book. It was based on the lecture that he gave at that time, and it was just expanded a little bit. Understand? What he established there was that anybody who's Vaishnava is axiomatically Brahmin. You understand? They're automatically Brahmin. And again, to socially demonstrate that, he had even those who did not come from Brahmin families wear the upavit. You understand? Because if you look at our Guru Parampara, prior to Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, was anybody wearing upavit?
No.
No. Because that time they're practicing Nirupadi Vaishnava Dharma. You understand? Nirupadi means they're not identifying anything in Varnashram. But he also recognized that in order to grab people from even the lowest rungs of society, you need a wider net. That wider net was then the desire of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which manifested in Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, for the spreading of Daivi Varnashram Dharma. You understand? Not Varnashram Dharma. Daivi Varnashram Dharma. Right? Which is the social orders of society all geared towards service to Bhagavan. You understand? So in this way, anyone, everyone could be engaged. So again, this was further development of the packaging that would allow the prophecy of Mahaprabhu to be fulfilled. Now, all of the associates that came after Mahaprabhu to establish these things, we acknowledge were the Manjari Gan of Srimati Radhika. So even though Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur had come to this world in sadhak group as Bila Prasad, then later as Vashabhanavi Devi Daitya Das after taking initiation from Gokshur as Babaji Maharaj, then being recognized in his sannyasa as Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, he's actually whom? Nana Mani Manjari. So he's actually still the gun of Radhika's Manjaris, a Manjari gun. You understand? He now says the package is ready. Bhaktivinoda Thakur did the, what do you call that stuff? R&D, research and development? Put it all together. He passed the package on to me. I've packaged it in the proper way for distribution. Now I need its distribution. He calls one of his own near and dear Sakigan, Srila Abhay Charanar Vinde. You understand? Our Srila Prabhupada. And he puts the Agyai order on the head of Srila Prabhupada to manifest this all over the world. Our Srila Prabhupada, in order to accomplish this, directly takes the Avesh of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Guru Agya Sirasi Dharane Shakyavesha Swarupine, taking the empowerment of Sri Nityananda Shakti on his head, through the order of Guru. Our Srila Prabhupada then takes everything that has been developed and spreads it in the entire world. You understand? Now, a very interesting thing. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shri Goswami Maharaj, he mentioned they were asking about the Swarup of our Srila Prabhupada. And there's two individual conversations in 1981. I'm going to move this a little closer, Parvati, because I'm leaning back. Okay. So in 1981, there were two conversations. In the very first conversation, they asked Pujapad Srila Sridhar Maharaj, what is the Swarup of our Swami Maharaj? Right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, what I have gleaned from his prayer on the Jaladut, it seems like he liked this Sakyarasa. You understand? So then devotees went away and they were concluded, yes, we figured it out, we got it. They came back in August of that year. Earlier in that, I think it was June or July, June maybe something, May, they asked. They came back in August of 81. I remember that date because I have the notes from it. And they asked the same question. Headed by one sannyasi, he asked, so, Maharaj, now that it has been concluded that our Srila Prabhupada was in Sakyaras, Srila Maharaj cut it right there. He said, it may appear so. But, but, it may be, it should be considered that he said, Srimati Radharani is my guru. You understand? Srimati Radharani is my guru. And therefore, if you look at the refrain of the prayer on the Jaladut, he's telling to Krishna, oh, you will be benefited by helping me. You understand? You will be benefited because I have sway with my Swamini. And your greatest auspiciousness is in getting association with my Swamini. So this is actual refrain of that bhajan. So if you will help me, I can put in the good word for you. This is the paraphrase of that bhajan. You understand? So he said because of that, he uses the same word that Srila Gurudev used. Therefore, it should be understood that he suppressed his own mood in order to accommodate the Avesh of Nityananda Prabhu in order to manifest this prophecy of Mahaprabhu all over the world. You understand? Because in the Panchatattva Maha Mantra, it's mentioned there, Panchatattvam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam. Who was the Swarup of the Bhakta Rup? Lord Nityananda. It is Nityananda Prabhu who reveals who's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you don't, Heno Nitya Vinebai, Radha Krishna Paitinai. If you do not get the mercy of Nityananda, you cannot understand Mahaprabhu. If you don't understand Mahaprabhu, you cannot understand Radha Krishna. Understand? So Nityananda himself appears as the Avesh in our Srila Prabhupada. And then Srila Prabhupada cast the wide net because Nityananda Prabhu is the principle of Guru Tattva. He's also the manifestation of Baladev Tattva. Baladev Tattva is inclusive of all rasa. So our Srila Prabhupada casts the wide net and captures everybody related to Bhakti. You understand? Captures everybody related to Bhakti and knows not. Right? He just brings everybody in. Now, Srila Sridhar Maharaj makes another statement. He then says, it may be also that he suppressed his own mood, that the nature of the Madhurya Rasa would not be given in the first installment. You understand? That the nature of the Madhurya Rasa would not be given in the first installment. So it means there's a second installment. You understand? Therefore, in 1996, the completion of the prophecy, which was linchpinned in Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, to our Srila Prabhupada, the concluding feature of that prophecy, which brings us to the point of establishing the completion of the prophecy that I described earlier, that the real meaning of Harinam being spread is to understand what is Radha Dasyam, because the essential ingredient of Harinam brings the understanding of Radha Dasyam. You understand? This is what Harinam is, and everything up to Radha Dasyam. So, Srila Gurudev comes in 1996. When I started writing to Gurudev earlier, he had no plans to come to the West. I read the other day, it was amazing. One devotee was visiting Agraya, and we were talking about Gurudev's first visit. And I remember having the letters prior to Gurudev's first visit. I started reading them again. Because Gurudev used to write on these little blue folding aerogram things back in the early days, before there was emails going back and forth. He would write you back on these little aerogram things. And you had to open them carefully because, if you don't peel them back the right way, you tear them. Then it graduated to actual computer paper or something. Somebody was getting Gurudev would type it out. But Gurudev had no plans to come to the West at that time, 93, 94, you understand? But in 1996, Gurudev comes. The very first katha I heard in 1996 in New Jersey, myself and my wife, we went to see Srila Gurudev. He sat down, and who's our Srila Padmanabha Maharaj, was Urukram Prabhu at that time. He started introducing everybody around the room, so forth, so on. Gurudev met everybody. Then Gurudev asked the question, what is Krishna doing now? And so it was around 3 o'clock, so Gurudev said, it's 3 o'clock, what is Krishna doing now? So everybody thought it was a quick trick question to get us, whatever. Gurudev then leaned back in the chair and started speaking about Apurvan Lila. Apurvan Lila means afternoon pastimes in the Ashtakaliya Lila. From day one, he started teaching what is Astakaliya Lila. He talked about what is sadhana and the sajja. The sajja being ultimately praying. The highest class of that praying being radhadasyam. So he began to quote the verse and explain the verse. Napita chirim chiratkaranavati kalo sumutpaitam unnata ujjwal rasa swabhakti sriyam. With all details, he began to explain all these things. We were mind blown. You understand? So now the prophecy is complete. You understand? So without Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and you can never isolate any of our acharyas. That's why they're Guru Parampara. So the glory of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that he was the linchpin in the prophecy of Mahaprabhu becoming available to the entire world. Understand? Had it not been for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, just like we say, Yan Kali Rupa Sharira Nadarata, Tan Braja Prema Mahanidhi Uttarik. If we had not had Rupa Goswami appear, who would have opened the chest of the prema of Mahaprabhu's teachings in prema? Who would have distinguished the Rasa Samagri and taught all Rasa Danta? If Rupa similarly, if Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had not appeared, which was the energy of Rupa Goswami again being manifest, you understand? To reiterate all these things. If Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Satyam Goswami, synthesis of all Goswamis, had not appeared, who would be able to understand? Because no translations into English, no thrust of English preaching. And if it wasn't for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur creating the template of how to practice bhakti, who would be able to do this? You understand? Because who could do Nirupati Bhajan life? Right? I'm going to have to go to MVT. Too many mosquitoes here under a tree every night. You understand? When I went on Parikram first time, in the enthusiasm of walking barefooted, I couldn't walk for 2 days after. You understand? Really. Blisters, everything. You understand? Who can do bhajan like that? You understand? Now in maturation, something may come. But that time, who can do? You understand? Living completely absorbed. So we can only pray and aspire for that sort of thing. Right? So hopefully we'll develop maturity in this life to get enough strength for that kind of bhajan life. But he made it so that you could come and you could have a bhakta program. You could do gradual introduction. Go home on Ekadasi. Srila Prabhupada said, go home and have salad on your Ekadasi. You understand? Yes, don't worry about the tomatoes. Have a carrot or two. You understand? Just chant Hare Krishna. You understand? Follow. You understand? Try to develop love for God. You understand? Then gradually, as maturation came, Gurudev came, he introduced many other things to narrow down the focus in bhajan life, so forth, so on. You understand? So this is one glorious Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that we are all indebted to, and therefore we should pray for his continued causeless mercy on us, because without Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, nothing would take place. This is why in Gaudiya Math, every day we're singing Sujana, Buddharita, Bhada, Yugam, etc. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. So any questions or comments about anything? Because it's all related to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. On the Zoom as well, but on the Zoom, you have to just speak because I can't see both pages and I can't see the chat. So if you have a question, you can unmute and you can ask. Hi, Bogor.
Yes.
And I'll repeat the questions that are in the room here.
That was very nicely presented.
That's Gurudev Mercy.
Very nice. It is said that a certain level of renunciation must be there.
Mm-hmm.
As you said initially, that's who the devotees were, pure devotees, is that they were very renounced. Raghunath, all of the 6 Goswamis, very renounced. So, what is the level of renunciation for people like us? Because I know when we initially became initiated, 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds. Is that the minimum, or should we be increasing the amount of renunciation?
So Govind Prabhu is asking a question that all of the Goswamis, when they were practicing, they were fully renounced persons. So he's asking, but for us, what is the standard both minimal and increasing, for being renounced. So he says, when we first came to the temple, everyone knows the standard was that you followed 4 regulative principles, you chanted 16 rounds, and for most people who actually lived in the ashram, there were many more natural sort of principles of renunciation introduced. You didn't have your own everything. Like when I first moved in the temple, you used to get a milk crate. And this was sophisticated because the Bhakti program was there at that time, 75, first time I moved into a temple, right? So you had a milk crate, and you got your 2 dhotis, 3 dhotis, and so forth, and your quarters. You could put them in your milk crate, and your sleeping bag, the amount of area your sleeping bag could cover was your domain. It wasn't yours because you had to roll up your sleeping bag, clean it in the morning, so it wasn't owned by you or anything. So there was a principle of living renounced life to some degree, an introduction to it, right? And the nature of your prasadam, if anybody remembers in the early days of living in temples, prasadam in the morning was cereal or oatmeal, some fruit, etc., and a piece of ginger for health and so forth, so on. Then lunch was always rice dal, chapatis, lemonade or water, right? The only opulence was on Sunday at the Sunday feast, right? And many people tried to make up for the entire week on Sunday. Given that, right? But generally, the day-to-day, everything was pretty simplified. So that was great renunciation compared to your ability to go to your favorite pizza shop at will, to go here, to do this, to hang out all night, wake up when you want to, because you had to be up by 3:30, right? Every morning you have to be up by 3:30. So some austerity was built in there. What happened was, as we socially evolved, so to speak, not evolved really, but we socially just, the movement grew and people started finding their own way. People got married, went to Grahasta life. If you're Grahasta, then obviously a sleeping bag and a milk crate won't cut it. So now you get an apartment, then after you get an apartment, you have kids, the apartment's too small, you get a house. Then you get a house, but it should be a nice house. You understand? And before you know it, you've simply dovetailed down the track away from renunciation, so-called. I'm going to explain something in a minute that's more important. And you're back into so-called living like this, and then looking at renunciation as what the Goswami Varga did. But what is the real meaning of renunciation? Vairagya means Vishesh Anurag. It means the specific nature of attachment to bhakti, prem, service is actually renunciation. It's not the external thing. It's the inner absorption. The inner absorption organically produces activity of being detached from the material world. You understand? Because of the natural attachment to God and God's service, there's an organic detachment from the world. So everybody can see in their lives that you've given up many things. Like even in the following of the 4 regulative principles, people will give up everything, especially dealing with the sexual energy, very difficult, but people gave that up, right, for the most part, right, in order to accomplish attachment to Bhagavan. You understand? If you're in Grahasta life, it's one thing for having children. If not, certainly maturation should come at a certain point where there's vanaprast. You understand? Because if not having children, then everything should be used for the service of Bhagavan. You understand? Having children is a service. But if not, try to become focused. You understand? So there is some idea of renunciation based in absorption. And the more you become absorbed, Raso Vrajam Raso Piyasha Param Drishanavartate. The superiority, Dandavad, Jai Shishi, Govinanda Mahaprabhu, Jai Shishi Adavrindadev, Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada. The more there is absorption in bhakti, in the incremental stages, from Shraddha to Sadhu Shanga. In Sadhu Shanga, you hear what is bhajan life. You follow what is bhajan life, it will remove the anarthas. Then Nishta will come. In Nishta, when you hear Harikatha, then the organic elements of the rasa in the Harikatha will produce on your consciousness. And it will create ruchi. At first, that ruchi will be in the aesthetics of the Harikatha, bhajan, kirtan, etc. Later, it will mature. And then, Vastu Vashishta Anapakshani. It will not matter the aesthetics of the kirtan, Harikatha, so forth, but just the hearing them will elicit so much ulas, means exaltation in the consciousness, based on the rasa samadhi in that kata. This will lead to asakti. In the stage of asakti, Jiva Goswami is told, Tattva tadrisa suddhakaraka bhasa simulasita hridaya spatika mani, ragatmakaya bhakti. The abhas of the mood of an eternal associate will reflect on the chitta, and then it will create asakti. Asakti is expressed in the 5th verse of Guru Ashtakam. Shiradikaya madhavyarapara madhuja lila gunarupananam pratikshanashwa danululupash. When every kshana is like a fraction of a second. Prati, at every fraction of a second, the lulupash means the deep desire for the save of Radha Madhav. There's deep meanings to the word Radha Madhav also. Understand? So, for the service of Radha Madhav, you understand? When that comes at every moment, this is a symptom of a Sakti. Now, in the stage of a Sakti, it's only waiting for the descent of Swarup Shakti. Means Suddha Sattva Visheshatma, Prem Yangsa Samyabhak, etc. Then the ruchi of a particular mood you have in it, coming from the samskars, from continued association of a sadhu, that ruchi comes imbued with Swarup Shakti. Therefore, Suddha Sattva Visheshatma, Prem Yangsa Samyabhak, ruchi means chitta masunanya. It melts away any false egoism, anything left, and establish itself completely on the chitta. Avya manovritam vijayate tatsvarupatam, all written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And the chitta becomes dominated by that particular mood or desire to serve God in that way. Understand? So absorption is renunciation. Because a person could walk around, hopefully not in Nebraska especially, in a loincloth and everything, doesn't mean they're renounced. Understand? So renunciation is absorption. So what's described about a Goswami Varga is that they were so absorbed. Radha Krishna Gunasmriti Madhurima Nandena Mattaliko. They were so absorbed that renunciation was a byproduct of the absorption internally.
But the absorption is in the Leela of Radha and Krishna. In other words, that's the
Eightfold daily pastimes, yes.
Yeah. So is that the absorption? What is the absorption? I mean, is it I'm particularly serving the Manjaris, I'm particularly serving Radha and Krishna, I'm particularly serving Mahaprabhu?
Very good question.
What is the absorption? Because there's many things, obviously, all of the books, Srimad Bhagavatam, you can be absorbed in any one of the pastimes in there. So is it a progressive path of absorption?
So Gogavan is asking a very wonderful question. He's saying that we're saying absorption is what is renunciation. But then the question is, what is absorption? Does it mean only in the Ashtakaliya Leela, means the eightfold daily pastimes of Nitya Leela? Does it mean absorption in the particular Leela itself? Does it mean absorption just in studying certain books? Absorption is adhikar specific. Understand? Bhaktivinoda Thakur told in Bhajan Rahasya, adhikar na labhyate siddhaya bhave viparya janma shaktira bhave. If there is not proper adhikar and you attempt absorption beyond the adhikar, it will create viparya, means confusion. You understand? So absorption should be adhikar specific. So depending on internally what is my adhikar, that will be the nature of my absorption. First adhikar will be in trying to obtain Vishramba Seva to Shri Guru. Will be first absorption. Because Shri Guru is the Mangal Murti. That's why when we sing in the morning, Mangala Shri Mangala Murati. The first two Murtis that are Mangal in the absorption of a Sadak is Guru and Mahaprabhu. Then Mangala Shri Radha Krishna, then Yugal Priti. The object of your love, then the Priti itself. The way to become absorbed first is in the bhajan process that's been given. Therefore, I've spoken many times here, I've spoken also, I know I've spoken in other places. There should be bhajan dhyan of the process. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Stavim Stuti to Guru. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, etc. Oh, what is Nama? What is Om? That's the first absorption. You understand? The artam of the bhajan process. You understand? That's the first thing. Because when you take Diksha, Vidvad Rudi Diksha is called Diksha that has 5 elements. And the first element is Mantra Artha Chintan. What is the meaning of what I'm doing? So if I roll over in a bit and go Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, what's Nama? What is Om? Vishnu Padaya, Shri Radhikaya, or depending on your Guru, Pranam. What is each thing in a mantra? That's the first absorption. Then I have to get up and I have to go and I have to take a bath. And devotees, of course, as they get more mature, Ganga, Jamuna, Chavi, Godavari, Saraswati, Namindu, Sindhu, Kaveri, Jaleshman, I'm going to take bath in the sacred rivers because reciting this mantra says I'm taking bath in all the sacred rivers. But if I'm a Brijabasi, where are all the sacred rivers found? Radha Kund. Therefore, the meditation is now I've arisen at least by 3:36 to take bath in Radha Kund, to put on tilak. Om Narayana Namaha, Om Keshvaya Namaha, Narayana Namaha. All these are different names of Sri Shyam Sundar Krishna. You understand? And this tilak is the symbol of Radha Krishna and their milan, which is the patra on the nose, in all the different 12 forests of Vrindavan. This is the dhyan of applying tilak. And then after that, I will go to wake up my Gurudev. Right? After Soswavdara Kuruna Bhagavan, we put all the prayers to wake up Thakurji. Then Uttistastasto Sri Guru Tajanidam Kripamoya. So in sadhak group, I'm awaking the form of my Guru. In the internal meditation that was given to me at the time of Diksha, along with Sambandha Gyan, I'm waking my Guru Rupasaki. You understand? So in Bhavana Sara Sangraha, there's one book. It's compiled by Siddha Krishnadas. He compiled it from the writings of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami's Krishna Bhavanamrita, Govinda Lilamrita, Krishnaika Kumudi. So this book is very prominent in how to do meditation. Understand? So he's describing everything in that book of the different Ashtakali Lila, everything like that. Right? So he's mentioning there, at that time that you put your tilak, put on your dhoti kut, everything, what you're doing is internally, you're putting on the prasadi clothes given to you by your Guru Rupa Saki that were given to her by the Rup Manjari that were given to her by Lalita from Radhika. Now, very beautifully dressed, you wake up your Guru Rupa Saki. When your Guru Rupa Saki opens his eyes and see you dressed like that, then your Guru Rupa Saki is reminding of your Ishwari Shrimati Radhika. Understand? Then Gurudev arises, and you have Gurudev to also dress in the prasadi clothes, everything, so forth, so on. Then you're going, and in the company of Rup Manjari, at that time, you're ready to enter into Nikunj. In your sadhak group, before entering there, you've entered the Nisant Lila of Mahaprabhu. Understand? Mahaprabhu was awakened. Mahaprabhu sat on the bed. He spoken sweetly to Vishnu Priyadidi. Then Mahaprabhu got up to go and begin to bathe. So first, Gaur Smaran. So all these things, they will come in relation to our practice. You have to synthesize our practice with these moods. That creates absorption. Other than that, what happens becomes Niyamagraha. Understand? Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. What does it mean? I don't know. I just learned. Here's the paper. You want to see it? Has to be Artam. Artam means understanding the meaning can give rise to contemplating the meaning. That is called Dharan. In that Dharan will come the Artavani, means the echo of the meanings, which will give rise to thousands of meanings. You understand? Right? Then, after the contemplation, you can have dhyan, because you become absorbed in the contemplation, it leads naturally into dhyan. When the dhyan becomes steady, it becomes dhruvanusmriti. When dhruvanusmriti becomes perfected, that becomes called samadhi. So this is the absorption. The absorption begins with artam. Part of the issue in general is that there's not an understanding clearly of what we're doing. We're singing Guru Astakam. Myself, it's going 50 years maybe now, 40-something years. So I cannot say Samsaradava Navalita Loka Tranaya Karuna Ganaganatam Praktashaka. Understand? Has to be some absorption. Samsaradhava Navalita Loka Tranaya Karuna Ganaganatam. I was trapped in samsara, which has been compared here to a forest fire. That forest fire could not be extinguished by approaching the ocean of Ras. You understand? Because the ocean of Ras, according to my Adhikar, would be inappropriate. Because the ocean is salt water. You understand? For those who are diseased. And if I'm burning in a forest fire, to bathe in salt water will not be healthy. Oh, but what happens? Samsara Dhavanavadita Loka Trinaya Karuna Gana Ganavtam. From that ocean, one cloud has appeared as Shri Guru. He's extracted water from the ocean of mercy. Who is the ocean of mercy? Yat Kinkareshu Valsa Kaluka Kavani Nityaprasha Purusha Shishakandamali Tashakada Rasandide Visubhanu Jayas. Who's the ocean of mercy? Shrimati Radhika. My Guru has extracted mercy from the ocean and has come over my barren position and has dropped that water down. When a cloud extracts water from the ocean and then drops it over land, what does it become? Fresh water. So my digestibility now is made possible. So Gurudev has saved me by extinguishing my material existence, samsara cycle. But that fresh water will also grow the seed of bhakti that's planted. You understand? All these things are in Guru Astakam. My Gurudev will take me by the hand to the doorway of the Shiva Sangam. And there, sitting on that doorstep, he will introduce me, Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madjan Manasora Sena, to the ecstatic moods and the kirtans of Mahaprabhu. Entering that mood, I'll enter into the mood of service. Shivigrahara Dhananityanana Shingaratan Mandira Mahajanado. I'll have the service of Sri Vigraha. Sri Vigraha, 3 meanings here. Sri's Vigraha means how one enjoys the serving Radhika. Sri Vigraha, Radha and Krishna during the Santa Leela are entangled together. So you're serving them as one unit. Disentangling them, all these different things. Sri Vigraha means also their appearance as Mahaprabhu in one roop. Sri Vigraha. Then, from that, all of the taste of the rasa involved in that service will come. Chatvavidashi Bhagavat Prasado Swadvana Triptam Haribhaktas. I become Triptam, happy, satisfied, by tasting the Chatur Madhuri of Krishna in the form of the seva to Srimati Radhika. Through Radhika, I will taste Krishna's Chatur Madhuri, because in Manjari Sarup, no direct relation to Krishna, but through the service of Radhika, we are tasting. This is called Tat Tat Bhavichmayi Seva. So now experiencing through Radhika the Chatur Madhuri of Krishna. Here, 4 kinds of prasad doesn't mean kachoris, halava, sabji, etc. It means how to taste Krishna's Venu Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri, Prem Parika Madhuri, Lila Madhuri. You understand? How to taste these things. When that happens, it's equated with the stage of Ruchi. Because the same person who wrote this bhajan also wrote Madhurya Kanda, meaning explaining the stages of progression in bhajan. So now in poetry, he's describing the stage of Ruchi. In that 4th verse. In the 5th verse, he will describe a Shakti. Shri Radhikaya Madhavya I've already explained how it's a Shakti. Then Bhav will come. Nikunja Yuno Rati Kali Siddhai Yad Ali Bhi Yuktira Pakshaniyai. Seeing Krishna become the Ali Bhi means all the gopis, means all my gopi gun, headed by Lalita Rup Manjari. I will see them, but more than that, I will see the Swarup of my Gurudev as Nikunja Yuno Siddha Sevak. He is a Siddha Sevak in Nikunj Lila. Nikunj means inside the kunj that's made for Radhika and Krishna's pastimes, there's another smaller kunj called Nikunj. Then inside of that, there's a 3rd kunj where they have their bedding and everything. Understand? So, my Gurudev is Nikunja Siddha Sevak. Means he's in Manjari Bhav. His Swarup is revealed. If you know the Swarup of your Gurudev, meditation upon the Siddha Rup of your Gurudev comes that time. By the revelation of your Gurudev's Siddha Rup, the Sambandha Gyan that you were given at Diksha, if it's matured in your heart, your own Swarup then begins to give its vision. You understand? How? Don't look for it. Don't close your eyes. Because it's described. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Parivaritam Rid Saroja Ashe Sruta ikshita pad. You have to see it by hearing. So when there's a synthesis of hearing producing manifestation, that's how you truly first see your Swarup. People are looking for something. Did I hear any ankle bells? Something? No, that's just the people taking the garbage. You understand? So you can't look for it externally because that will also lead to Prakrita Sahajavad. So Shuta Ikshita Pad. Nanu Natta Pungsam. Any Pungsam means here devotee should see the Lord appear via Yad Yad Diyad Urugaya Vibhavyanti, the maturity of their bhajan in dhyan through hearing. So when your Swarup is revealed, that time, when your Swarup is revealed, because you still have a Sadhaka Deha, you revert back to your Sadhaka Deha because Rupa Goswami has described that in Siddha, bhajan is done in two ways. Seva Sadhika Rupena, Siddha Rupena Chatrihi. So in Sadhak Rup is when you will say, what is this verse? Sakshadadi Dvena Samasta Shastriya. Coming back into the arti, you'll realize in Sadhak Rup, my Gurudev, Sakshadadi Dvena Samasta Shastriya. You understand? And then you make the vow, Yasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada. You understand? This is in Sadhak Group. Same in the Mangalarti. You go through the entire Mangalarti and then in, it will describe hearing the conch bell and everything, and then it will describe the glory of the Mangalarti of Param Gurudev. You understand? So this is Seva Sarika Rupena Siddha. This is how bhajan life is done. Understand?
Comment? Just a quote from
Oh,
Gurudev.
very well.
You started out and Gurudev said something to me years and years ago. I said, do I have to wear a dhoti? And I don't like wearing dhotis. And he said, when you're ready. And you just described the process of getting ready
Yes.
to wear a dhoti,
Yeah.
essentially.
I mean, many people came to the temple, especially obviously in the early days, you know, you could be in your underwear, but you had to keep your hair. So, you know, when there was this thing, okay, you want to take Diksha, everything, you have to shave. It's like, nah, I could run around completely in underwear, but hair, I got to keep the hair. So that was the first big thing, to shave your head. You know what I mean? It didn't matter what your ethnic background was, because back in the day, of course, if you're in the African American community, you had your afro. You know what I mean? And you had to braid it to make it bigger. So anyway, I don't want to detract from Hari Katha. But anyway, so gradually, Gurudev once told me, because at the time I had Govinda Lilamrita, Krishna Bhavanamrita, some books, and I asked Gurudev before reading, I want to get your Ashirvad, means your blessing. Gurudev told, dire. Indeed, dire means slowly. Take your time. So go slowly. Ask any question, ask anything, get clarity. Because you don't want to read and conjecture. Understand? So read, get clarity of the Siddhanta, everything around this particular thing. Oh, that will give you foundation to go next thing. Because if you start reading, Bhavana Sarasangraha, Govinda Lilamrita, Geet Govind, so forth, so on, what you'll understand. In Geet Govind, Jayadev Goswami starts with Das Avatar Stotra. Is he talking about the Das Avatar? He's saying these Das Avatar are various kinds of Nayak with various kinds of moods that are all present in Rasik Shekhar Krishna. You understand? So you have to have Sadhu Sangha to get Bhajan Siksha to understand how to do the progression of Bhajan. It's important. Prabhuji?
Just quickly, I'm wondering if there's anything in the works for like a structured, organized sort of bhakti program, as you would call it. I know ISKCON has something, but it's not very intricate as far as explaining the rasic moods of what we're meditating on, the absorption. Do you know of anything that's in the works that would be available in online format that we could access in the future? Or, you know, that has a structure of you wake up in the morning, you can meditate this way, these are the proper things you can do, these are the more...
Prabhuji is asking a very nice question. He's asking that particularly in our Sangha, is there like a bhakta program or something where the structure that we were describing could be manifest so people can follow it, even if they're following it just like online, because now a lot of things are online, right? So I would hope so. I've spoken, this is Harikatha as I've heard it from Gurudev and senior Vaishnavas. So I will hope that there will be ability for some persons that I have relationship with like that I've given Harinam or something. I've given some format how to follow structure. But I think in a general way, to have the Harikatha, maybe what I can do is once come and we can go through the program. People can take the notes or record it or whatever. The mantras, obviously the mantra, dhyan, everything, I cannot repeat publicly. I don't know who's who, what have you. But for those who have diksha, whatever, separately we can do the Siddhanta of the mantra, dhyan, everything. And because I really believe one of the things I've done in traveling for Harikatha very much, and I've spoken in different situations, ISKCON temples, everything, right, is the importance of understanding the practice. Because this is what was given to do. And without understanding the practice, the efficacy that comes from the practice won't manifest. You understand? So it's important to have the understanding. Then with the understanding, practice with it. Like many devotees, they don't practice with Sambandha Gyan. How many people here have Diksha? So many devotees here have Diksha. So at the time of Diksha, Sambandha Gyan is given. That Sambandha Gyan has to be clearly understood, and the practice has to be through the prism of that Sambandha Gyan. You understand? Other than that, the efficacy of what you're trying to obtain is not really clearly envisioned yet. So maybe once, or sometime I'll try to work out some schedule to do, maybe here or something, a seminar or something to get that thing done.
Please,
That would
be
very much.
Yeah. And then devotees can have their own, sort of metric or whatever, or not metric, but some template, right? By which at least they have the template, right? Because I remember in the old days when you first received mantras, everything, people used to give you a piece of paper. When I took Diksha originally, Gurudev and Sanatan Prabhu, and who's now our Pujapat Shanta Maharaj, we took together. 3 hours was the Diksha. Because he went through Harinam, verbatim, meaning, word for word. And it used to be like that. And even after the Sangha got bigger, Gurudev would do all the basic things, and he would have your Guru Maharaj or someone else do what he was doing back at that time.
He won't let us record.
No, even Gurudev said, and still now you cannot record at the Diksha time. But he would have,
But the meaning of the words
your Gurudev would do the whole meanings. And what Gurudev used to explain, what he explained to us that time when he was doing it personally, your Guru Maharaj or some senior very sannyasis would explain. You understand? Over the course of time, I don't know, as the Sangha just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, festivals and just running, it became more difficult. Gurudev also, by his leela of his health, wasn't able maybe to do like that. But normally they would give explanation.
I didn't even get a paper, honestly. When I get initiation from Gurudev, I received the mantras, but I never even got a paper.
Way back, they weren't giving papers. We didn't get a paper either. Gurudev made us repeat it though, and Gurudev would say no. Because, I'm just giving one example, I'm not explaining anything. We're going cling, no. Cling, cling, no. And so that's probably what took a lot of time too. Because he was like correcting each thing going down. He said, you understand now? And then Gurudev would go to the dhyan. So he'd go to mantra artha chantan, what's the meaning of the mantra, Harinam and Diksha mantras. Then he would go to the dhyan. And then the dhyan is why you don't record. Because that dhyan should be between the Guru and the Sishya. And that dhyan also becomes the Sishya's absorption in chanting Guru Mantra and Guru Gayatri. And then also in chanting Guru Ashtakam, etc. His Guru dhyan that's his rock. Understand? So I will try to find some arrangement. And maybe Sunday's a good day because it's a day when people will come naturally. And to do one seminar just on the program. Devotees can record that. And again, I cannot do of the mantras. I can give the Siddhanta regarding mantras, but not the dhyan and everything. All right, any last question? Any question on the Zoom? Haribol Jai Shri Rasanidhi. All right, so devotees who are on the Zoom, of course, next week we'll have our regular situation, and if you did have any question and you can't think, now just write it down and you can ask on next week. And is there any last question in the manifest audience, so to speak, not the virtual audience? All right, and then the words. All right, any short kirtan then? What time is RT?
12:30.
30.
Or do announcements, what do you want to do?
Sure.
Questions or anything?
You can announce this as your last question before we finish.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Mukunda, for this beautiful class as always. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm really excited about this Sambandha Gyan seminar. Wow, that sounds amazing. I think you have a lot of people who would be really interested in that.
Or you can come to the intensive. Intensive is in June. Sambandha Abhidaya in Perugian, but it's in Virginia. But we'll do the other thing here.
Okay, thank you. So just a couple of announcements. We're going to do Harinam right after Prasad today. And so we were going to go to Gainesville, but I'm as close as I can be to you, sorry. We're just going to walk downtown and come back. So please join us for Harinam. We need, Jayanti and Murti Prabhu have very kindly volunteered to sponsor the feast on Friday for Srila Narayana Maharaj's Tirabhav feast. So the feast will be at 1, and then there'll be a potluck in the evening. So they need someone to pick up the milk in Gainesville tomorrow. So can anybody volunteer to do that? Like they're coming from Gainesville, or thank you so much. I'll get you the information, Dee. So we also need, let's see. So yeah, the Tirabhav festival is coming, and Siddhanta Maharaj will be here.
Haribol, devotees, yeah, we can hang up because we're just doing announcements and things now. So we won't do kirtan, but you can just go ahead and hang up everybody now. So because we've gone over our time. Yeah. All right, Jai Haribol, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
All right, Haribol.
So we need a few volunteers to make the festival successful. There's going to be 5 days with Siddhanta Maharaj. We need a volunteer. Can we have a couple of volunteers to make garlands while Siddhanta Maharaj is here?
And Thursday for Friday.
Thursday for Friday, yeah.
When does Maharaj get here?
Yeah.
Garlands,
It's
okay.
coming Friday afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'd like to have garlands for him every day, obviously. We are looking for cooks for the Friday feast and for the Sunday feast. So if you'd be interested in helping with that, please come and see me. And as always, we are needing your support for tithing for the temple. It takes a village, and it takes a village worth of Lakshmi to make this happen every week, and all of the festivals on top of it. So we have a new link, if you haven't seen it, for PayPal. You do not have to have a PayPal account. So thank you for Raj Mohan for helping get that sorted. And also we have the lower percentage rate. So if you want to do a monthly or a yearly or a daily tithe, whatever you want. So just come and see me or see Raj Mohan for that. And I think that's,
If you want to donate for the festival, if you could do it sometime this week, because we need to buy flowers.
we need the cash in hand.
Yeah, before Friday, so maybe by Wednesday if possible.
Yeah, so we know what we're working with. We've had a lot of people say they're gonna do it, but we don't have all the cash in hand yet, so please go ahead and
the link is on the followers of Rupa Goswami.
And the email is
Yeah.
sent out, Shay sent the email out today for everything, so look in your email.
The link should be there to donate also.
the link is there.
On email?
On the email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Link is in the email. I'll send it out again on WhatsApp. We have to update this, but this will be updated soon. These
The barcode.
barcode.
And Nagar Sankirtan too, so.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. And now your time. Haribol.
Haribol. Any last questions or anything before?